Jerry Brownlee. Question number 8, Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety. What are the major collective employment agreements currently under negotiation where there would no longer be a duty to conclude bargaining when the Employment Relations Amendment Bill is passed in Parliament?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
It's not possible to give a definitive list. That would depend on the member's definition of the term major. It would depend on the timing of the implementation of the bill once it's passed, and it would depend on the conclusion of employment agreement negotiations presently underway, which isn't able to be assessed.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, that question was on notice. This is the Minister formerly known as the Minister of Labour. He should know what major collective employment agreements are being bargained for at the moment. It just defies belief that he doesn't.
Order. Again, it's one of these issues around ministerial responsibility. The Minister's not actually responsible for the stages of any of those major collective negotiations. He may well have been aware, and that's why the question's been accepted, but he certainly doesn't, in my mind, have a ministerial responsibility in regard to those agreements.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Sue Moroney.
Was priority given to amending the Employment Relations Act determined by the fact that negotiations are about to take place to renew the collective employment agreement for 25,000 nurses working in public hospitals?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
No.
Supplementary question, Sue Moroney.
Well, was he aware then that the CTU President Helen Kelly reported to nursing and teaching conferences that Deputy Prime Minister Bill English told the CTU that the government would pursue the employment relation amendments because they had, quote, ministers around the cabinet table who want more flexibility when it comes to negotiating with teachers and nurses?
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Well, no, but I would agree that the bill, when passed, will be an improvement on the employment relations framework in this country, and I'm not surprised the Deputy Prime Minister is keen on having it passed.
More flexibility. Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Sue Moroney.
Will today's Court of Appeal decision confirming equal pay rights for female-dominated occupations enable him to update the Employment Relations Act to reflect that decision?
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr Speaker, the decision of the Court of Appeal has only just been handed down, and it behoves the Attorney-General and I to consider it carefully, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to speculate on future changes.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Sue Moroney.
Well, will he give a guarantee then that he will not pass legislation to undermine today's decision, given Simon Bridges' recent statement that the government may, quote, intervene in the proceedings?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.
Mr Speaker, I don't believe the Employment Relations Amendment Bill, when passed, would undermine any decision of the Court of Appeal, and therefore the question is moot.
Point of order.
Point of order, Sue Moroney.
Mr Speaker, the question was not about the Employment Relations Act specifically. It was, will he give a guarantee that he will not pass legislation?
Order. I heard the question. The essence of the question, would the Minister give a guarantee? He hasn't answered it specifically. He may want to, but I'd have thought it was fairly obvious from his answer that he wasn't about to give it. Sorry? Order. Has somebody got a raising a point of order? Then in my mind the question's been addressed. He was never going to give a guarantee, which was the essence of the question as I took it from Sue Moroney. Before I call question number 9, can I just clarify with the Honourable Jerry Brownlee, the point he raised earlier, was it in regard to question 7 or was it in regard to question 8?
7.
7. I thank the member. Right. Question number 9, Matt Ducey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the